So what I was saying was that we had a lot of different testimony. We heard a lot about this new technological platform, a technological platform that seems to have a lot of good things going for it. We heard from drivers that they like the flexibility that it provides them. We heard from riders that we like the prices that it gives them. And we heard that maybe we might want to consider doing something different in terms of taxis. I agree with all of those things. I think that the city of Burlington can and always should be looking at trends in technology and changes in the city, and changes in the marketplace to try and accommodate and update ordinances to fit those particular trends and changes. However, with innovation comes a significant and often unwieldy, maybe even unsafe consequences that were not imagined or contemplated when that technology was first conceived. And we've seen that play out time and time again in communities all around the United States where we've seen things, where we've seen Uber miss something. In fact, there's actually a lawsuit that's filed specifically around this particular issue of background checks. It's actually a joint lawsuit with two different, referring to two different separate incidents. One was in South Carolina where an Uber driver who had actually a prior conviction sexually assaulted someone. Another was named in the lawsuit was actually from someone who, again, had also had a prior conviction, who was taken off route, actually groped and forcibly kissed. They were able to actually escape that, that particular situation. But in both cases, they're claiming gross negligence from Uber. In fact, the negligence has been so significant on the background check piece, both the states of Texas and California are investigating Uber on this exact issue. So to say that we should deregulate the background checks piece really strikes me as unfortunate and poorly conceived at this particular time when we've seen empirical examples in other communities, empirical examples so significant that entire states are investigating the company's operating procedures, that we're going to deregulate our background checks and move to a system that will ultimately create less transparency in terms of the public safety aspects of this ordinance. Because what we're trying to do here with this is what this ordinance allows us to do is have Uber conduct their own background checks, and then the city is able, on a twice-a-year basis, able to look at a sheet of paper. On that sheet of paper, you got numbers. Those numbers may represent the total number of drivers that they have driving for them. It may not. But you have 25, from those numbers that you have there, you're able to pick 25 background checks that you want to look at. There's nothing to say that Uber can't have a stock set of 25 clean background checks that would correspond to each and every one of those numbers. So you could pick 25 different numbers and Uber could bring you 25 good, clean, solid background checks. We also don't know what that 25 number represents because, again, Uber's pretty opaque in terms of their operating practices. They won't tell you how many drivers they have operating for them at any one time. So it could be 25 out of 50, it could be 25 out of 100, it could be 25 out of 500, or even over 1,000 drivers. So we don't quite know how many people we're actually getting in that particular audit process. And that really is particularly concerning to me because I think that we should have the info, that we could miss something much like those other communities, much like Uber did in those other communities where they were letting people with prior convictions actually drive and then actually commit crimes again through the use of the vehicle and the app. So that's particularly problematic. But what we haven't, but what this amendment does, I think, that addresses the problems that I've just stated is that it brings everything back into the light. It keeps the system as the same as it currently stands, where everybody has to be has to pay a fee to the city conducts the background check, and keeps that background check, should any questions arise about that driver's legality or any questions about prior convictions arise. So you have that third-party accountability mechanism built into the ordinance. So I think that that's a far better standard for public safety in the city of Burlington than just leaving it to the private sector to regulate itself.